The Last Tram to Nowhere. Kolkata, 2019. It was past midnight when Arjun boarded the last tram from Esplanade to Taligung. The city was asleep, except for a few rickshaw pullers and street dogs, prowling in the misty night. Arjun had missed the last metro and had no choice but to take the tram, an eerie, rattling relic from a forgotten time. As he stepped in, he noticed something odd. The tram was almost empty, except for 3 passengers. An old woman in a red sari, a man in a dark overcoat, and a little girl sitting alone by the window. The conductor, a frail man with hollow eyes, punched his ticket without a word. Arjun sat near the exit, scrolling through his phone. The tram jerked forward, gliding through the deserted streets. Outside, the street lights flickered. The city felt wrong, as if it was watching him. He glanced at the little girl. She was staring at him, unblinking. He smiled nervously. She didn't smile back. Minutes passed. Arjun felt a strange heaviness in the air. The tram wasn't stopping at any stations. He turned to the conductor. "Bia, this doesn't go to Taligung?" The conductor looked at him with sunken eyes. "No stops. Only the last ride." A chill ran down Arjun's spine. He looked around. The old woman was gone. So was the man in the overcoat. Only he and the little girl remained. The tram picked up speed. Too fast for an old machine. The city outside blurred. Arjun's heart pounded. He got up and ran to the exit, trying to force the door open. It wouldn't budge. The little girl whispered, "You shouldn't have boarded." Arjun turned, trembling. Her eyes were black voids. The tram lights flickered. The conductor was grinning now, his mouth stretching too wide, revealing rows of jagged teeth. The tram rattled violently. Arjun screamed as the world outside disappeared, swallowed by darkness. The last thing he saw was the girl reaching out to him with ice-cold hands. The next morning, the police found an abandoned tram near Rabindra Sarobar. The doors were locked from the inside. Arjun was never seen again.
Story 2. The Midnight Caller, Mumbai, 2022. It was 2:45 a.m. when Rohan's phone rang. A private number. He was half asleep in his 14th floor apartment in Andheri, exhausted from work. He hesitated before answering. "Hello." Silence. Then, a whisper, "Don't look outside." A chill crawled up his spine. He sat up, glancing at his window. The city was alive even at this hour, horns blaring, distant sirens, the occasional bark of a stray dog. But something felt wrong. The whisper came again, clearer this time. "Don't look outside." His hands trembled as he cut the call. Probably a prank. Who would call at this hour? He turned off his phone and lay back down, but sleep wouldn't come. Minutes passed. Then, a tap on the window. His breath hitched. He lived on the 14th floor. No balconies. No ledges. Another tap. Soft. Insistent. Heart hammering, he forced himself to look. And froze. A face. Pale. Hollow eyes. Lips curled into an unnatural grin. It wasn't human. The thing pressed its hand against the glass. Its fingers were long, too long. It mouthed something. The phone rang again. Same private number. Hands shaking, Rohan answered. The whisper returned. "I told you not to look." The call cut off. The window shattered. The next morning, his apartment was found empty. The glass was broken from the inside, but there were no footprints. No blood. Only his phone, lying on the floor, with one last notification, one missed call, private number.
The Whispering Walls, Delhi, 2021. Arav had lived in Delhi all his life, but nothing prepared him for the haunted house in civil lines. He had moved in with 2 friends, Rishi and Neha, excited about their new rented bungalow, cheap, spacious, and surprisingly well-maintained. Too cheap. The landlord's only warning, ignore the whispers at night. At first, they laughed it off. first night was normal, except for a strange dampness in the air. The second night, things changed. Arav woke up at 2:45 a.m. to hushed murmurs. At first, he thought it was Neha or Rishi talking in their sleep, but the voices came from the walls, faint, insistent whispers. Come closer. Let us in. 10 whispers. Come closer. Let us in. His skin prickled. He covered his ears, but the whispers slid into his mind. The next morning, he confronted his friends. Neha looked shaken. I heard them too. That night, they locked their doors. But at 3:00 a.m., Rishi screamed tore through the house. They burst into his room. They burst into his room. He was sitting upright, his eyes blank. His nails had scratched deep gouges into the wooden floor. He mumbled, "They're inside now." Before they could react, the lights flickered. The walls swelled and pulsed like something was breathing behind them. A shadow stretched across the ceiling, grinning. The next morning, Rishi was gone. His bed was untouched. His phone lay on the floor, screen cracked. With one last recording, a whispering voice. Hey. Up, down, down. 2 to 2. Story 3. The Vanishing PG Bangalore, 2023. Rahul had just moved to Bangalore for a new job in Whitefield. Finding an affordable PG wasn't easy, but after weeks of searching, he found one, Shanti Nivas. It was oddly cheap for the area, but he didn't question it. The landlord, an old man with cloudy eyes, simply handed him the keys and muttered, "Lock your door after midnight, no matter what." Rahul shrugged it off. His room was small but comfortable. The first few nights were uneventful, until one evening his neighbor, Ankit, knocked on his door. "Bro, if you hear knocking at night, don't open the door," Ankit warned. His face pale, Rahul laughed nervously. "Why?" Ankit hesitated. "Just don't. People disappear." That night, Rahul lay in bed, his mind replaying Ankit's words. At 2:13 a.m., a faint knock echoed from his door. He froze. Another knock, more insistent. He checked his phone. No messages, no calls. Then a whisper opened the door. His blood turned to ice. The voice was wrong, stretched, hollow. He pulled his blanket over his head, heart pounding. The knocking stopped. Morning came. The corridor was empty. Ankit's room. Vacant, confused, Rahul asked the landlord. The old man sighed. There was never an Ankit here, Chi. Rahul packed his bags and left that evening. When he looked back at Shanti Nivas, the building was gone, just an empty plot, covered in weeds,